All right, guys, so today we are combining what we've done the last couple of weeks all into one problem. We're simplifying algebraic expressions. So example 1 right here, we have 2 times the quantity 3j plus 11 plus, and then in parentheses, 8j minus 7. And we have a similar example over here. And what we want to do is take this big, ugly expression and we want to make it look better. We want to make it easier to solve, easier to do the math. So we're going to go through the couple of steps. Really, all we're following is the order of operations. So I'm going to remind you, order of operations tells us to do the parentheses or inside the parentheses first. And then we do exponents, and then we multiply and we divide going left to right. And then we add and we subtract left to right. And we have to follow those same rules when we simplify. The first thing we're looking for is inside the parentheses. And we've got 3j plus 11. We can't add those together, so we're done with those parentheses. And 8j minus 7. We can't do anything to simplify that, so we're done with that one. And we have a similar situation over here. On the inside of the parentheses, there's nothing that we can do to simplify this problem. So we're done with parentheses. No exponents yet this year, so we're not worrying about exponents. Now we have to multiply and divide left to right. And here's where your first new information it comes into place when we started distributing. Because when we look going left to right, this says 2 times these parentheses. That's a multiplication. That's what we need to do first. So if there are parentheses, we need to distribute. That's usually going to be our first step. So if there's parentheses, we need to get rid of them because they're multiplication. They're that step of it. So in this first example, I've got my first set of parentheses. I've got a 2 in front that I'm going to have to distribute to those 2 numbers. I also have another set of parentheses right here, and there's not a number in front of it, but there's a plus sign. And just like the minus sign means a negative 1, this plus 1 means a positive 1. So I'm going to distribute that positive 1 to the rest of the parentheses. So 2 times 3j is 6j. Whoops, sorry guys. Numbers and letters are hard. 2 times 3j is 6j. 2 times a positive 11 is a positive 22. So I put a plus 22. And then I move over to the next part of the problem, which is plus 1 that's being multiplied by 8j minus 7. So a positive 1 times 8j is a positive 8j, and a positive 1 times a negative 7 is a negative 7. So I'm just distributing to get rid of the parentheses. So when I rewrite my problem, the parentheses are gone. So example 2, my first set of parentheses, 3x plus 8, there's nothing in front of it. So really, I'm not actually distributing anything. So I can just rewrite 3x plus 8. But then my second set has a negative sign in front of it. And I have to be careful that I distribute that negative. Remember, that means multiply by negative 1. So negative 1 times a positive 5 is a negative 5. And a negative 1 times a positive x is a negative x. And now my parentheses are gone. So this step, multiplying and dividing, we're done simplifying with those steps. Once we've distributed, we're going to remove all double signs, if there are any, and rewrite it. The way that in this class, some of the other classes, they still rewrite the problems with double signs. We've been getting rid of them early. So a lot of times at this point, you won't have any double signs. But if you do, go ahead and rewrite the problem without the double signs, just to make it that much easier for you on the next step. Okay, so no double signs here, no double signs here, so we can go ahead and move on to number 3. Now number 3 is going to be that we're going to circle each number. And this is just combining like terms. So from right here next to number 3, if you want to put combine like terms, that's all step 3 and 4 are. And so we're just basically copying those same notes again. We're going to circle or box or underline. We're going to somehow mark each number and the sign and or variable that's attached to it. Okay, we want to keep track of those, not just the numbers themselves, but we want to keep track of the variables and the signs that go with them. So we're going to move up here to 6j. That comes first, so I'm going to circle it, and I'm going to look for any other j's. I've got a plus 22. I have a plus 8j right here, and then a minus 7. So all my j's are circled. And now I'm just going to box my plus 22, and I'm going to box my minus 7 to kind of keep them from getting mixed together here. And then I've got 3 x's in this problem. So let's look for any more x's. I've got plus 8, minus 5, and then a minus x. I'm going to make sure I get that minus. And then I'm just going to underline my plus 8, and I'm going to underline my minus 5. So we're combining like terms. We've done this before, we've just never done it in the middle of a problem that has other things going on with it. So step 4, we're going to add our like terms together. Anything that has like terms, we're going to combine. So I've got 6j's plus 8j's. So 6j plus 8j's gives me 14j's. And then I have positive 22 minus 7, which is plus 15. Okay, now remember, we can't put this whole problem in our calculator, but if you don't know what 22 minus 7 is, get your calculator and do 22 minus 7, hit enter, and it can tell you that it's 15. And you can do the same thing with the 6j and the 8j. You can do 6 plus 8 and see that that's 14 j's. Okay, and now over here in example 2, we've got 3 x's minus 1x. Hopefully you can do that in your head. That's 2 x's. And then we have 8 minus 5, a positive 8 minus 5. And again, hopefully that's one that you can do without needing your calculator. That's a plus 3. So 2x plus 3 and 14j plus 15. Now I can't add these together because these are j's and these aren't, so I'm done adding in that problem. And I can't add these together because there's 2 x's and 3's, and those don't combine. So I've rewritten everything that I need to rewrite. My problem is as simple as it gets. That's what it means when it says simplify. We're making it a simpler problem. So I'm done. That's as far as I can go. I shouldn't end up with just a single number as my answer. This right here is a great answer for simplifying expressions. All right, so let's do a couple of them together. I'm going to go kind of fast, so if you need to pause the video to go back and look at something again. In fact, let's zoom in just a little bit so we can see these problems a little better. So number 1, negative 7 times w minus 4 plus 3w's. There are parentheses, so I need to distribute. So I'm going to circle the negative 7 and make sure that I distribute it carefully. Negative 7 times w is negative 7w's. And then a negative 7 times a negative 4 is a positive number. And 7 times 4 is 28. And again, if you can't do that in your head, negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28. Put it on your calculator. Then I've got this plus 3w left over at the end. I need to make sure that I write that. I don't want to forget it. Now we go on to combining like terms. Negative 7w's, and I've got plus 3 more w's, and then this plus 28 in the middle. So negative 7 plus 3, if you need to do it in your calculator, go ahead. Negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4w's, and then I've got plus 28 left over. And that's as simple as that one gets, all right? So number 2, we have 3r minus 6 times r minus 4 minus 27. So they're starting to get a little bit complicated. They're starting to look a little bit complicated. If we do it step by step, they're really not too difficult to do. But I do have parentheses, so I've got to distribute. So I'm going to circle negative 6, and I've got to distribute that to these numbers. Now my 3r is just floating out here. I don't do anything with it, so I'm going to write 3r. And now I have negative 6 times a positive r gives me minus 6 r's. And then a negative 6 times a negative 4, don't forget that negative or that one. 6 times 4 is 24, a negative times a negative is a plus 24, that's a positive. And then I've got this minus 27 just floating there at the back. So I'm gonna put that at the end of the problem. Now combining like terms, all I've got is addition and subtraction, so I have 3 r's minus 6 r's, and then I have a positive 24 and a minus 27. So 3 r's minus 6 r, I've got 3 positives, 6 negatives. I've got I've got more negatives In fact, I've got 3 more negatives than positives, so my answer is going to be a negative 3r. Again, if that's something you can't do in your head, 3r's minus 6r's, enter, tells me negative 3r's. And then plus 24 minus 27, I've got more minuses, more negatives. In fact, I've got 3 more negatives, so my answer is going to be minus 3. So negative 3r minus 3, that's my final answer for that problem. Okay, so now we're going to go to number 3. This one has 2 sets of parentheses, so I'm going to distribute twice. I'm going to distribute the 4 to these numbers, and I'm going to distribute the negative 2 to these numbers. Be really careful of that negative sign floating out in front. 4 times 3 is 12 p's. 4 times a positive 4 is a positive 16. So 12p plus 16. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12p. And negative 2 times a negative, that's a positive. 2 times 4 is 8. So I have 12 p's. I've got negative 12 p's. I have plus 16, and I have plus 8. 12 p's minus 12 p's leaves me with no p's, so I'm not going to write anything at all. And then those cancel out. So 16 plus 8, that's just 24. And that's my final answer. My p's went away because I had as many positives as negatives. All right, so that's simplifying expressions. I know it's a little bit messier than what we've done in the past, but if you do it step by step, if you distribute and rewrite the problem and then combine like terms, just do one piece at a time. Just worry about timesing 2 and 3j, and then just worry about timesing 2 and 11. And when you get down here, just worry about the 6j's and the 8j's. Don't look at it as one big complicated problem. Do the little pieces inside that problem, and in the end, you get a nice answer. So try these 3 on your own. Do the best you can. Come show me what you've got. And if things look good, I'll give you the practice for the day. Good luck.